Vitiating factors. Vitiating factors are legal grounds where a contract that appears valid may be set aside because consent was not properly obtained. The different types of vitiating factors are misrepresentation and economic duress. Misrepresentation. Misrepresentation is a false statement of existing fact made by one party to another that causes the other to enter into the contract. This includes omissions, which in consumer contexts means failing to disclose information that would affect the consumer's decision, as shown in Spice Girls Limited v. Aprilia World Service BV. The Misrepresentation Act 1967 states that a person who has entered into a contract after a misrepresentation has been made to them may claim damages, and that the representer will be liable unless they can prove they had reasonable grounds to believe the statement was true. Types of misrepresentation. The different types of misrepresentation are fraudulent misrepresentation, negligent misstatement, statutory misrepresentation, and innocent misrepresentation. Fraudulent misrepresentation is a false statement made either knowingly without belief in its truth, or recklessly as to whether it is true or false, as shown in Derry v. Peake. The remedies for fraudulent misrepresentation are rescission and damages in the tort of deceit. Negligent misstatement is a false statement made carelessly where a special relationship gives rise to a duty of care, as shown in Headley-Byrne v. Heller. The remedies for negligent misstatement are rescission and damages based on the loss caused by the negligence. Statutory misrepresentation is a false statement made by one party where they cannot prove they had reasonable grounds to believe it was true under Section 2 of the Misrepresentation Act 1967, as shown in Howard Marine v. Ogden. The remedies for statutory misrepresentation are rescission and damages assessed as if the misrepresentation were fraudulent unless the court exercises discretion otherwise. Innocent misrepresentation is a false statement made where the representer had reasonable grounds to believe it was true, as shown in Oscar Chess v. Williams. The remedies for innocent misrepresentation are rescission or damages in lieu of rescission at the discretion of the court under Section 2 of the Misrepresentation Act 1967. Economic duress. Economic duress is illegitimate economic pressure applied to force a party to enter into a contract without genuine consent, as shown in the Universe Sentinel. The nature of the threat must be illegitimate, meaning it involves unlawful pressure or lawful pressure used in bad faith, as shown in DSND Subsea Limited v. Petroleum Geo Services ASA. The consequences of the threat must leave the victim with no practical choice but to submit and enter the contract, as shown in the Atlantic Baron. The case of Powon v. Lau Yu Long sets out the extra criteria for economic duress, which are whether there was protest, whether there was an alternative course open, whether the victim was independently advised, and whether the victim took steps to avoid the contract. If there was protest, this means that the victim objected to the pressure at the time, indicating that their consent was not freely given. If there was no alternative course, this means that the victim had no realistic practical alternative but to agree to the demand. If the victim was independently advised, then they received legal or professional advice before entering the contract, suggesting they did so with voluntary and informed consent. If the victim took steps to avoid the contract, this means that their action to rescind supports the claim that the agreement was entered into under pressure. The remedies for economic duress are rescission or cancellation of the contract and restoration of the parties to their pre-contract positions. The limits of economic duress are that commercial pressure alone is insufficient, the threat must be illegitimate, and the victim must act promptly to avoid affirmation of the contract. Thank you for watching this video on vitiating factors. I'll see you in the next one.